I'm going to tell her something that is both going to hurt and going to feel good.
Okay.
And what I'm going to say is, yes, you are the asshole. However, that's good to know.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
If you have a structured settlement and you need cash now,
You need cash
JG
now.
Wentworth, 877 cash now. I was showing off my COVID baritone.
Oh, yes. We're both sick at the moment. We both have COVID, believe it or not. But we record from home, and so there was no excuse. We actually really needed to record. And so we were like, well, we're going to do a sick Q&A.
Yeah. And you know, some people would let COVID get in the way of a podcast. But that's not how we treat our shandies.
No, we never miss a week.
Yeah, only death.
Okay, so we have some Shandy's cues to A. Shall we get going with them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This first question is from S. Dear Shandy, I have a kind of am I the asshole / morals check question. I got laid off in January, but was asked to stay with my company until April 1st and given long lead time to find a new job. I had an amazing interview in January and knew I was getting the offer, but that the offer wasn't coming until April. I met a guy in another city in between this time and we hit it off and fell in love. Wow. What an eventful few months for her.
Happening.
I've never felt more emotionally supported and loved by someone, and now we're in a serious relationship. I'm so happy with him. That said, we're less than 2 months in, and in the early stages, I simply never told him I got laid off. He knows the details of my old job and the hiring process of my new job, and basically everything about both other than the layoff. It didn't feel like a first date conversation, and then it just never came up after that. I kind of want to just not bring it up for the rest of our lives. Do I have to? Am I lying? Will he feel betrayed down the road? Would appreciate a morals check on this one. With gratitude, S.
I feel like this is a mountain out of a molehill. An unnecessary molehill mountaining.
So you think S is making a big deal out of basically
this
nothing?
Is one of those things that, like, why would you? Well, what's the big deal? It's not like she got laid off, but she was like stealing money from the company, or having saying incredibly inappropriate things to people. Like, she just got laid off. It's probably like a round of layoffs.
She has a weird amount of shame around having been laid off, considering how common it is to get laid off.
Yeah,
right.
But she also has a new job coming.
Yeah, there was no in between.
Like, it's a wash.
Yeah,
there's nothing ever happens.
Yeah,
it's like it's a break even. I think there might be some cultural issue at hand here.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like there's too much weight being put on this layoff.
Yeah.
Feels like it's some sort of pride thing, like it's an honor thing.
Yeah.
Like it's dishonorable to get laid off.
Yeah, and for me, it's funny, like the fact that she wrote into a podcast asking if she could just never tell him this makes me think that the shame has reached such a level and that she's really determined to be seen a certain way by him. That's my concern, really. It's more that, like, I need to be XYZ for him to still like me. I don't want him to see me in the light of having ever been laid off. Like, that to me is more concerning. Like, I think that you should tell him at some point, if only to see his reaction and realize that what you have is indeed what you think you have.
Yeah, could you imagine if you tell him that you got laid off and he's like, oh, okay, see ya.
Yeah, seriously. Can you imagine if it changed the way he saw her?
Then you save yourself years of trouble. You don't want to be with this guy.
No, it's true. It's true. Okay, so is this our way of saying that S should 100% tell him?
She should have told him. Not that that's great advice, but in the future. Unfortunately here, we're dealing with a necessary cover-up. Because the crime has been committed. And the cover-up, they say, is worse than the crime. But if you get away with a cover-up, then it's great. So I think she should just not tell him.
So we've come full circle.
Yeah, no, I thought about it for a second. Because the fact is you're right. When should she tell him? Like, what she's like, well, I have to tell you something. Then it puts too much weight on it.
Yeah.
If it came up and he's like, so what happened with your other job? Like, and she's like, oh, I got laid off. Like, that, if she has the opportunity, just to say it offhand, like flippantly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got laid off.
This is actually a little more complicated than I was expecting, because I think she should tell him, like, in a moment where she's like, can I tell you something that I haven't told you? And I was like feeling kind of embarrassed to tell you. And just in a sweet, intimate moment.
Well, that's the high road.
Are we giving different advice now then?
My advice is, in the future, don't do this, number one.
Wait, but what should she have done differently? No, don't do this. What should she have done differently?
She should have just said it quickly.
No, she said it. She didn't feel it was first date material, which I agree with. It's first date. She should say she got laid off. I totally understand why she did it.
But they're not on the first date anymore.
Yeah, but she said it never came up after that. So she just never brought it up. She's wondering if it's bad that she just never brings it up. I think for her to feel validated in this relationship, feel validated that this relationship is what she thinks it is, she should tell him in a sweet, intimate moment, I was nervous to tell you this because I was worried it would make you see me a certain way. And then he can be like, oh, big deal. And then she'll feel great.
I'm very torn on this one.
Oh, wow. It's more
because it's so, to me, trivial. Like, it doesn't matter because it's not like her getting laid off is impacting their relationship in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stand by my original thesis, which is she should not bring it up.
Okay, that's
not worth it.
That's your second thesis.
By my original, right? I know. I've gone back and forth on this one.
So we actually have slightly different advice, but I think the outcome is more or less the same. So I think she should tell him it'll bring them closer. You think that she doesn't need to, but either way, morality-wise, we think she's in the clear. She's in the clear completely. And one day, if they stay together, which it sounds like they may, probably, it's going to come up. And it's going to be nothing. He's going to be like, oh, he probably won't even be listening. He'll be like, what? Oh. And then she'll ask him next week, remember I told you I got laid off? He's like, what? And then they'll have a fight about how he doesn't listen to her. Full circle. Okay. All right. S, good luck. We don't think you need it. No. All right. This next question is from, she didn't sign her name, but she didn't put anonymous. So I'm going to make a game time decision and say anonymous. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's safe. Dear Shandy, my group of friends and I are trying to plan a trip to visit our friends in Milwaukee for one weekend this summer. We are looking into renting an Airbnb, and I would love your opinion on how we should split the cost. I think it's so funny that we get these money questions now. There are 9 adults and 2 children going to Milwaukee. Myself and 4 couples. One of the couples has 2 kids. My friends that live in Milwaukee are a married couple with 3 kids. So far, this sounds like one of those math questions. Yeah. I was always bad at those. Yeah. How far are they going to Milwaukee? Yeah, exactly. If they go to Milwaukee with 9 people and 2 kids and they're visiting 3 kids. The Milwaukee couple might stay in the Airbnb with us, making it 16 people total in this Airbnb, 11 adults and 5 kids. One of my friends sent an Airbnb to our group message asking if everyone was interested. This rental had 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. I'm not sure how many are full bathrooms, she wrote, and would cost $5,200 for 3 nights. Since I am the only single one in my friend group, I expressed to my friends that I didn't think I should pay the same amount as everyone else to rent this Airbnb. I told them I understood it is a sticky situation since I'd be getting my own bedroom, so I can understand splitting the cost per bedroom. But even then, there are still shared communal spaces in this Airbnb, and I'd be sharing a bathroom. Only one of my friends responded to my concern and said that she had originally planned on me and my friend Jenny splitting the cost a couple would pay, but since Jenny now has a boyfriend she wants to bring, it is up to Jenny and I to work out how to split the cost. Oh, are you going to correct the I? It's okay. I've decided that usage I'm going to let go from now on. This didn't make any sense to me. My friend also told me that depending on where we stay, I might not have my own room. I told her I am not interested in sharing a room with a couple. Whether we split this Airbnb 5 or 6 ways, the 4 or 5 couples and myself, I'd be paying either $866 or $1,040 for only 3 nights. This is too much, in my opinion, considering I could get a nicer hotel room on my own for less. I have decided that if I do go on this trip, I will get a hotel on my own. But my question is, am I being unreasonable for thinking I should not pay the same as my coupled friends or a family of 4 or 5? Is it unreasonable to expect a room of my own and to not share a room with a couple? Thanks. I mean, first, I don't think she's being unreasonable. I think she's being foolish to go on a trip like this. It sounds like a nightmare. It does sound like a really big crowd. Okay, well, so it's happening. They're doing the trip. Yeah, they're doing the trip. 16 adults, 5 kids. I mean, what is this? Why would you go on this trip? Well, they're seeing friends.
Yeah.
They're being social, Andy.
This doesn't sound fun.
Okay, move on from that. It sounds fun to them. They're doing this for fun.
Fine.
A lot of things are fun to other people that are not fun to you, and vice versa.
Fine.
We love escape rooms. We think escape rooms are fun, and some people are like, that's not fun to me.
You know what? That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay,
fine. So Milwaukee, 16 people, 5 kids, paying a lot of money, splitting bathrooms. Great time. Okay, so the question is she being a jerk? Is she being unreasonable?
So this is a very interesting one because on one hand, you could totally see her point. She's like, a family of 5. Was it a family of 5? Yeah. One of them is a couple with 3 kids. Another one's a couple with 2 kids. They're, getting 1 bedroom and I guess a bathroom, and they're paying the same amount as she is for one.
She's getting screwed.
She's getting a little screwed, but at the same time, I do think that when you go with friends to any, rental situation, what you're paying for is your own bedroom. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like if there's 5 of you and it's 5 bedrooms, you're splitting it 5 ways because of the bedroom. It's not because of how many bodies are taking up the communal space.
I also agree with this.
Yes. So it's not that I think she's the asshole per se. It's more that I think if she wants to get her own hotel, it sounds like she's already made that decision.
Yeah,
she totally,
fine.
She's making the right call for herself.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where, you start to reach a point in life where we're a couple in this situation, but we're not one of the couples with kids. And then there's people who are not in a couple and they might want their own room. They don't want to split with the couple for a room. Like I totally get all of that. It's like you start to be faced with like the different stage of life you're in, and like adding money to that is a very awkward conversation. And I think that while it doesn't sound like it was received. I don't want to say it wasn't received that well, but she sent a text being like, I don't think I should have to pay the same amount. It's sort
ballsy.
It was ballsy. But at the same time, I also feel for the person organizing who sent the Airbnb in the first place, because I don't think that's a fun position to be in either. I think that the whole thing is just complicated, and I don't think anyone's really in the right or in the wrong.
Yeah, I've said this before. We've gotten questions like this before. When you do a group thing, whether it be a dinner or staying in a house or going to some show or whatever it is, invariably people will get screwed.
Yes.
That's just the nature of the game.
Oh, when we go out to dinner in a big group, someone gets screwed.
Always.
It's often us, actually.
It's often us. And this is why I have now, and my new policy is I just keep drinking. I will not get screwed again. Well,
because we're not big drinkers. I think that it's part of what you sign up for when you go out with friends. And if you're on a budget, then you need to state that ahead of time and be like, I'm going to be on my own check or whatever. That kind of thing. I had a friend who she actually doesn't live here anymore. But when she did, she would always say that. And I respected it. It's like, totally. Like, you should only pay for what you ordered. I get it. But I think you're right. In a group, someone's getting screwed.
Yeah.
And it could be the people who just tip properly versus the people who don't.
Yeah, oftentimes half the place is getting screwed. There's a lot of screwing going on in these group things. And it's one of the, honestly, I think what she should have done personally is it's never a good look to raise issues about the split of a group event.
Yes.
And I give her credit. It was a ballsy move.
It was ballsy.
I wouldn't have done it. I would have just been like, I'm getting a hotel.
Yeah.
Is that cool? I'm getting a hotel. Pick your battles wisely. If you want to do a group thing, know that you may be on the short end of the stick, or you never know. You may come out lucky.
Yes, once in a while.
In the end, when you're dead, it all has evened out. You've been screwed as many times as you've been gifted. My overreaching policy on all these things is just deal with the outcome or make your own arrangements without making a fuss.
Yes.
That's my feeling.
Yeah. And I think no one here is right or wrong. Yeah. But ultimately, I do maintain if you're getting a bedroom, that's the thing you're paying for.
And if you're driving in a Ford sedan 350 miles to get to Milwaukee to stay in a 6-bedroom house with 15 people and 5 kids.
Yeah.
Why are you going?
All right, Anonymous, good luck. It doesn't sound like you need it because it sounds like you've made your own hotel arrangements, and enjoy.
Pros knows that a bottle without your name is a shitty shampoo.
Pros does know you and your hair because you fill out their online hair consultation and answer questions about your hair, not only your hair, but also where you live, your zip code, your climate, because all of these things factor into how your hair performs. And then Prose takes that intel and they personalize bespoke shampoo and hair products for you.
And we just came back from a trip, and I mention this all the time, but I will mention it again.
Yes.
I brought my little handy travel bottle of Prose because I do not leave home without it.
No shampoo will do other than Prose. You use it religiously, in fact.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've gone to some fairly nice hotels recently, and they have really good products in the shower, and I say no. Does that product have my name on it? I don't believe it does.
No.
I will not be using it.
It literally has our names on it, our products.
Oh,
And
did they not know that?
we haven't mentioned that part yet.
I thought I said that in the jingle. I said it in the jingle.
And everyone knows I'm a big fan. I mean, I use all sorts of Prose products, but their dry shampoo is so good. And I also love how all their products work together in harmony.
Yes, it's a complete hair care system, personalized right down to the fragrance, which, by the way, is amazing.
Yes, you can select even your fragrance. And if, let's say, you want to go fragrance free, you are against fragrance for, I don't know, health reasons, or just you don't want fragrance.
Yeah, you're anti-frag.
You're anti-frag. You can just go no fragrance. Plus, as the months go on with your subscription, they have this review and refine tool. So you can continue to slightly alter or adjust your formulas. Does your average drugstore shampoo adjust to the seasons and changes in your life?
No, it doesn't, because your average drugstore doesn't care about you. So Prose is so confident that you'll bring out your best hair and skin.
They're offering an exclusive trial offer of 50% off your first subscription order at prose.com/dearshandy.
So get your free consultation and 50% off at prose.com/dearshandy.
That's prose.com/dearshandy.
So Charlene.
Andy?
I was noticing how unbelievably cute you look in your overalls today.
Oh, thank you, husband. I gotta say, I'm very delighted. They go so well with my new Skims t-shirt. My soft, smoothing, seamless t-shirt. It goes with everything. It's the perfect basic. And I have had issues with things looking good with overalls.
I mean, I've never seen you wear a Skims t-shirt where I'm just like, oh, that's not working. It's always good. It's always cute.
Skims has nailed the basic, the modern basic, because, we all have a white tee in our closet. Andy.
Oh.
But not everyone might have the perfect little white tee that brings back to life overalls that, frankly, you have not worn in maybe a year. I'm being totally honest. I haven't worn these overalls in so long because I often don't have the right thing to wear with it, the right basic. And now I'm wearing them again. That is the power of a good basic.
So Skims basics are so good that they've created opportunities for other outfits that you have that you wouldn't have worn otherwise.
Yes. 100%.
That's a strong basic.
And that has been the case with many of my Skims pieces. And don't even get me started on the underwear. You guys have heard me go on and on, because you better believe that under this soft, smoothing, seamless t-shirt, I am wearing the t-shirt bra by Skims. And I'm also wearing, other underwear by them.
Basics is a bad name for what Skims offers. Yeah, it should be something else.
Oh, something more.
Yeah, it shouldn't be basic.
Yo, you're right.
It's bad connotation.
Yeah.
It should be super basic. Wait, that's even worse.
Basics plus.
Yeah.
And I cannot talk about Skims without talking about their fabric, how stretchy. Look at the stretch.
Wow.
Do you see this?
Let it go.
Seriously, the fabric Skims uses is unlike any other. It's so stretchy, but always comes back to its original size and shape. So it's flattering, but also comfortable, because oftentimes tight things are just, you're like, get it off me.
So shop the Skims t-shirt shop at skims.com.
Now available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X.
And if you haven't yet, be sure to let them know we sent you.
After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and Dear Shandy in the drop-down menu that follows.
All right, I have another trip question.
Ooh, I like trip questions.
Yeah, me too. All right, this next...
Many friendships are made and broken in trips.
Yes. This one's also from Anonymous. Dear Shandy, longtime listener here. I love your podcast and advice. This is my first time ever asking for advice on any online forum, but I'm really keen to hear your opinion of my situation. Thank you, Anonymous.
Yeah, you should try Reddit next.
Context. I am in my early 30s, so is my close friend Elle and her partner M of 3 years. We had planned to attend a conference in South America in 6 months, just me and my friend Elle. We talked about it for 2 months, but we were waiting for her leave to be approved before before booking anything in. In all these discussions, it had always been just me and her. You could see where this is going. Mm-hmm. We had jokingly talked about inviting some of our other friends on the trip, but never our partners. FYI, the conference would be done in 3 days, but we were planning to stay for 2 weeks and do some traveling. In the last 5 months, my friend Elle had been talking about breaking up with her partner, various communication issues, conflict with her family, etc. I have provided a listening ear during these times, and to be honest, I have always thought she deserved better. He seemed to be self-centered and quite a particular and uptight person, but I have kept those thoughts to myself, or at least tried. Question.
I really like her.
She dropped it on me while we were having dinner with another friend that her partner M would be joining our trip. It wasn't a question. It was as though she was bringing up what to eat for breakfast. I was pretty tipsy at that time and immediately asked, "What? I didn't know he was joining us." To which I saw a flash of annoyance on her face. She said, "I would travel with any of your partners." And honestly, she is a pretty extroverted person, so I do believe she doesn't see this as an issue. I, on the other hand, an ambivert, feel really blindsided that our girls' trip is now me becoming a third wheel. I am being practical by saying that my relationship with M is certainly not close enough that I would have ever imagined traveling with him for 2 weeks. He has a ton of food allergies, has to sleep at a certain time, is sensitive to temperatures that I feel I would have to accommodate for on a trip. Even though I am an easygoing person, could I really tolerate this for 2 weeks in a foreign country when we don't have a pre-established line of communication? Another part of this is that she feels in the last 2 weeks that things have changed for the better in her relationship. I'm guessing this is what brought upon the planning for a trip 6 months away talk between them. Seems like a bad idea to me. Seems like there are too many moving pieces in planning this trip. Should I extricate myself from the situation and let them have a couple's trip? Do I stick it out and try to see the bright side, which I guess would be that there's someone else to rely on for planning, etc.? He is an organized person. Anonymous.
Okay, I have an analogy for this.
Ooh.
Let's say some good friend of yours makes you the godfather or godmother to their child.
Okay.
And you're like, oh my God, this is such an honor.
Yeah.
You feel so good. You got pep in your step. You're like, wow, this person really cares about me. And then a couple of weeks later, the person who named you godfather or godmother gets hit by a bus, unfortunately.
Okay.
And you're just like, oh, shit. You have to raise the kid. You got no choice. You really don't want to. Let's be honest. When someone's named Godfather, they're not like, oh, I can't wait to raise this kid when this guy dies.
I feel like once in a while.
Once in a while. Well,
yeah.
Maybe 10% of the time. But let's be totally honest here. It's an honor that you hope is never cashed.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not. No one wants to do it.
No, I think you're right. You're just speaking truth.
Right. So you have to just raise that kid. You got no choice. You've taken it upon you. It was the outcome you didn't want, but you bought into the game.
Yeah, but she didn't buy into this though.
No, she bought into the trip. Her friend pulled a move on her.
See, to me, if it was from the get-go, like, oh, M might come, oh, but he might not, and that was the thing that was on the fence, and it's like, now he is coming. That's different. I don't think she was ever this. I don't think she ever signed up for this. So you think that she should go on the trip with L and M?
Yeah, I think she should just go on the trip.
Okay, I mean, I think that's a shockingly positive outlook for you, Andy. But I know what you mean. Like, maybe she'll go on the trip, have a great time. He'll be less of an issue than she thinks, and it'll be a bonding experience, blah, 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 maybe. But to me, the thing that is giving me pause is the fact that Elle has vented to her about this relationship and has thought about ending this relationship. And like, I would have a hard time going on a trip with a couple that I knew was solid. Can you imagine going on a trip with a couple that you're not sure is solid? That sounds like hell.
I have great empathy for what she's going through. This is not a good situation. But unfortunately for her friend, this is a positive thing. And she is very inappropriately, let's say, sharing this positive thing with her in this fashion. So for Elle to bail on the trip, that's a force majeure.
Is a force majeure. You're right.
That's a coup.
You're right.
And she's basically saying like our friendship is now on ice.
Yeah, it's soured. No, it's true. Her backing out of this trip is a statement.
Yeah. And why make that statement instead of going on the trip? And who knows? Maybe in the end, if they had gone just the two of them, they would have been fighting the whole time. Maybe the boyfriend will somehow like soften that. Who knows? I'm just saying it's not likely. But let's say maybe the boyfriend going might even make the trip better somehow. You never know. You never know.
What bothers me about Elle in this situation is that Elle is forcing Anonymous to be such the bigger person here, when really, I think she's been quite inconsiderate of Anonymous.
Oh, she's been totally inconsiderate.
Like the fact that she just drops this on her like so casually.
Oh, there's no question that what she's doing is wrong.
Yeah, and she mentioned that Elle is an extrovert and she less so, but I don't even think that that's a factor here. The fact is that M is Elle's boyfriend of 3 years. Like Anonymous is innately the third wheel in this situation.
Yeah.
And I would have a problem with this. And I agree that it is a real statement. Like it's really aggressive to back out of this trip. But I also think that she's been kind of put between a rock and a hard place. Like this is a big trip to go on and she could put those resources and that time elsewhere. I think that she's being signed up for something that she never signed up for.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if my analogy works here. Because technically speaking, you are signing up for raising the kid when you become a godfather.
Agreeing.
But you're not really. Let's be honest.
Okay, sure. There might not be like a signed contract, but you do have a conversation where you're like, yes, I will be the godparent.
But you're hoping you don't have to be.
Yeah, but maybe. Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Right. So what I'm saying is it is a little similar in the sense that you never know what's going to happen.
You keep trying to make your analogy
I'm trying to make
Andy.
it work. I'm trying to. She's got to raise his kid now. And she doesn't want to do it, but she's got to raise the kid. If she doesn't raise the kid, everyone's going to look at her and be like, you monster. You put that kid in foster care, you absolute monster.
No,
you agreed to this. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know who was going to outlive who.
No. Your analogy doesn't work, Andy.
It doesn't work.
Because she didn't agree to it.
It doesn't work.
She did not agree
really
to the boyfriend.
To
I know.
I'm going to save that.
You kept trying to make that
Can
work.
you cut the whole Godfather analogy and then I could use it some other time?
You kept trying to make it work. But I'm sorry, I don't think it does. And it takes a lot for me to give advice that I'm giving right now. Because normally I'd be like, let it roll off your back, take it easy, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I don't think Anonymous should have to go on this trip if she doesn't want to, period.
She shouldn't have to if she doesn't want to, but she probably should for just the sake of the friendship.
No, I think Elle should know that she did a shitty thing.
I think she can go on the trip and make sure that Elle knows she did a shitty thing.
No, I think by going on the trip, Elle will never learn that she did a shitty thing.
Well, if it was me, this is what I would do. I would be like, oh, that's pretty weak. I kind of want to just hang out with you, but it's okay. Guys are going to handle this way different than women, generally speaking. I mean, that's not derogatory. I'm just saying it's just going to be a different situation. Much more out in the open, like, you asshole, why'd you do this?
That's what annoys me here. Sorry to interrupt, but she said immediately at the time, I didn't know he was joining us. And then Elle acts annoyed.
Well, that's the thing.
Saying, I would travel with any of your partners. Like, that's not
how many
addressing...
partners? What are these partners she's talking about? She doesn't know. Is she any ambiguous partners? No. There's this partner that she clearly is not a big fan of.
Yeah, and I think that that's not actually addressing the point. Like, I would want my friend to be like, oh, shoot. Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
not
is it
just
okay if I do this? Are you okay with this? And totally get it if you're not. That's the right approach.
Yes. Elle instead is like, what's your problem? I would do it for you. Well, that's totally hypothetical because Anonymous doesn't have a boyfriend.
She didn't give her a choice.
Yeah.
She basically, you know what she did? To go back to my analogy, if I could maybe salvage it. She basically said, you're the godfather of my child. And the person's like, no, I don't want to be the godfather of your child. Well, it's too late. You're the godfather.
Yes.
You have no choice.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
so you're
Andy,
screwed no matter what. You don't even get proper honor. I got it. I saved it a little bit.
Kind of, sort of. Okay, so what is our advice to Anonymous? You think she should go on the trip?
My advice is clear. Go on the trip and see how it goes.
Okay.
And you never know. Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it'll be even more fun with this guy. I mean, very unlikely, but you never know. Give it your best shot. If you pull out now, you are making a grand statement. You are basically saying that our relationship is now in trouble. Or, and I don't know the personalities here, it's possible that that move, depending on Elle's personality, could, scare her straight.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, I really did a bad thing. I got to salvage this friendship. I got to make this up to her. My feeling is, though, that's gamesmanship. I think she should just go on the trip. It sucks. She should put this in her back pocket and realize that Elle can't be trusted when it comes to things like this. She's got to be prepared. If she ever goes on another trip with her, she'd be like, I just want to make it clear, it's us two, no exceptions.
Okay. All right. So my advice is, and there's a lot of hypotheticals here. So first I want to, Anonymous, you didn't mention if you had already booked the flights, booked things, spent money that you can't get back. If you have, I think you should go on the trip and just try to make the best of it, because there were obviously things about this trip you wanted to do. And I think you can still have fun. And it does sound like Em, at the very least, is very well organized. And so maybe that can help. It's always fun having someone really well organized on a trip.
Yeah.
But no matter what, I think you need to have a conversation with Elle beyond a tipsy, what, I didn't know he was coming. I'm impressed that she even said that. But I think a conversation needs to be had where you're like, hey, I was really looking forward, lead with love. I was really looking forward to having a girls' trip with just you and bonding with you. And if I'm honest, she should say, if I'm honest, I've thought you and Em were kind of on the rocks. And so she should express that it's not a comfortable situation for a third wheel to be on a trip with a couple who's on the rocks.
Yeah.
I would feel that way in any if we were a double date or third wheel, any kind of situation. But it's a lot harder when you're a third wheel versus a double date, because you don't have your partner to be with, to cling to. Instead, you're just watching a slow-mo car crash every single day.
Oh, it's very uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's very uncomfortable, as you said, just having a meal.
Yes.
With a couple that's not
the
perfect.
times we go on a double date with a couple that is not doing well, it's
and it's rare. We have to say it's rare, because otherwise every couple is kind of no, we know most times it's good.
It's super rare. But when it happens, you're like, I kind of wish I'm not here.
You want to get the check. You want that check to come soon.
Yes, it's terrible. And so we have to take that into account of how that could infect her experience.
Yeah.
And trips cost money.
Yeah.
Trips take time.
Money and time, and you have to take time off from work.
Yes.
You burn vacation time. It's a big commitment.
This is time and money she could be spending with maybe another friend or doing some other trip that she really wants to do.
You know what this really comes down to? Elle is selfish. It's a selfish move.
I think it's selfish.
And it's selfish in the most literal sense of the word selfish. She is thinking of her own perspective only. She's like, oh, I like this guy. I want to go on a trip with him. He's coming on the trip. Yeah. Oh, there happens to be my friend who's going, who we were planning to go together. Who cares? Just about me. Yeah. Just about me.
So, okay. So in conclusion, Anonymous, I think if you had not spent money already on this trip, that you can't get back, I think you are within your right, and I do think you should still have the conversation, but I do think you are within your right to withdraw. And I don't think that makes you an asshole at all.
And I don't think you should make it, I think it should be a very unpassive aggressive move. She'd be like, listen, I want you guys to have a great time. I really did want to go on this trip with you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I kind of want to really use my vacation time better. And I'd rather have you guys just go have fun. And I'm going to go do this thing, which I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Make it nice.
Or say, I really want to have a girls trip with my girlfriends.
Yes.
And it's nothing against M. He's great.
Yeah.
But I think that, if you want to make this a couples trip, you go do it. I'm going to instead do this other girls trip that I can line up instead.
And that way you get both your goals accomplished.
Yes.
You tell her that she did a bad thing, and you extricate yourself without causing major damage to the relationship.
Yeah, and I have to add, if Elle doesn't respond well to this...
No, she sucks.
Elle already kind of sucks.
Oh, she's already got 2 strikes.
Yeah, if Elle doesn't respond well to you saying that, Anonymous, and you leading with love and saying it in a kind way, then I think this is a friendship you need to look at again, because I cannot believe that Elle would respond to Anonymous in this way and just take her experience into account so little.
I totally agree. And, I put myself in her shoes. This is one of those questions where I try my best to go right into her shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't feel good about it.
No.
And I think of all my friends, and I can only think of maybe one person who would do this to me, and I would feel very, very unhappy about it.
This would be friendship
readjusting,
recategorizing,
calibrating.
Yes. Okay.
And I do stand by if she has paid for it. I'm glad you brought that up because that is important. If she has paid for it, go.
Yeah.
Just deal with it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be great. Maybe she'll become lifelong friends with this guy. Who the hell knows what'll happen? You never know.
Yeah.
Life is crazy that way.
It's true. All right, Anonymous. Good luck. I think you're going to need it. This is not an
tricky.
enviable situation. Good luck. Why do I sound so much sicker than you? You sound totally normal.
I think you're a day ahead of me.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, you're on the back end where your voice is worse. I'm going to get there tomorrow.
Huh.
No?
I can hear how much work. You sound totally fine.
Really? I feel like I don't sound fine.
Oh, no, you sound normal to
All
me.
right. I think you sound good.
Okay, now I know you're lying.
I am lying. HelloFresh is gonna make your day bright. HelloFresh, don't put up a fight.
Yay. It's been a minute since we've done our HelloFresh jingle.
Yeah, it feels good.
Still a classic.
Feels like home.
So HelloFresh, America's #1 meal delivery kit. Who has not heard of HelloFresh by now, Andy?
People who live underground,
Under rocks.
under rocks, in caves.
Yes.
People who reside in caves alone, never leave the cave.
They don't even hear through word of mouth how great HelloFresh is, how great it is, I'm going to admit, for your relationship. Because in the early stages of our relationship, pre-HelloFresh, we would sometimes argue about who was cooking and what ingredients had been bought and just the overall organizing of the eating of food. Because HelloFresh delivers everything you need to make quick and delicious and healthy meals at home. They include all the ingredients and, of course, the recipe.
Eating is one of the pillars of life. Eating, sleeping, a roof over your head, basic stuff.
I felt like that was about to go rated R, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily a requirement, but it's nice to have here and there. Yeah, I don't know. My point is that why not relieve the stress of one of the great pillars of life?
And honestly, the joy. It's a joy of life to eat. Plus, they have over 45 different options to choose from every week, so you do not get bored. I've learned to cook thanks to HelloFresh. Sometimes when they put like cream cheese in a sauce, I'm like,
Right?
like that makes a
cream
sauce.
cheese.
Like I never would have guessed.
Never would have known.
Yeah, and now that's a skill I have. I'm like, oh, when I'm cooking, not using HelloFresh, like that's something that I get to keep.
And something else you'll get to keep, what you like, is free dessert for life.
Yes.
If you sign up today.
Yes, HelloFresh always has some sort of crazy deal, but this one really caught my eye.
Yeah.
Basically, as long as you have a subscription, you get to get a dessert for free in your box. I mean, that's just so good, especially since their desserts are really solid. They have this molten cake.
Oh, yeah. And it's a
good.
good molten cake.
Yes.
Because we know molten cakes are not all created equal.
No, sometimes they're not good at all. Sometimes they're just too dense and dry.
They need to be molten.
They need to be molten.
It's a molten cake. It's
Yes.
not just a cake.
Yes. Well, HelloFresh's is always molten to perfection.
Yes.
So go to HelloFresh.com/ShandySweet to get free dessert for life.
That's one dessert item per box while subscription is active.
That's free dessert for life at HelloFresh.com/ShandySweet.
So, Charlene,
Andy,
yesterday I did something that I looked forward to.
what was that?
I booked a doctor's appointment.
Ooh, you looked forward to that?
I looked forward to it because the contrast of what booking a doctor's appointment used to be compared to what it is now with ZocDoc was actually a pleasurable experience.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. ZocDoc is the free app and website that helps you find and instantly book doctors near you who are in network, they accept your insurance, and who are highly rated. And you can actually book the appointment through ZocDoc, so you don't need to pick up the phone. I have to admit, there's no comparison to how it used to be. Like,
No.
I actually enjoy it. It's also so well branded and well laid out and like designed. I'm like, ooh, this is fun.
It's like if you lift 200 pounds at the gym every day, lifting a 25-pound suitcase is nothing.
Yes. So is ZocDoc the 25-pound suitcase?
ZocDoc is the 2-pound suitcase.
It's the ultra light carry-on.
Yeah.
No, totally. With ZocDoc, you get everything you were going to get, meaning a doctor's appointment, which frankly you need, but without all the headaches. And let's be honest, it's a headache to call doctor after doctor after doctor's office and ask, oh, do you take this insurance? Oh, okay. Well, when are you available next? Look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with talking to people on the phone, but there's a difference between talking to a friend on the phone and talking to, receptionists who maybe don't want to be talking on the phone.
Someone doesn't like to talk to people on the phone. I get that. But it's not just that. It's also that you make appointments better.
Yes.
It's not just easier. It's that you actually get the doctor you should get it. The doctor that's super highly rated. The doctor who takes your insurance. The doctor who's right near you. If you do it without ZocDoc, who knows what you're going to get?
Yes. And the ratings cannot be underestimated. Because, I mean, we trust ratings when it comes to a restaurant we're going to eat at.
Yeah. Shouldn't you trust someone who's sticking their hands inside of you? So go to ZocDoc.com/Shandy and download the ZocDoc app for free.
Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Shandy, ZocDoc.com/Shandy.
Do you have it in you to do another trip question?
I like trip questions.
Me too.
Yeah. They're hard, but they're good. They're like, you know what they are? They're a stinky cheese, as you would say.
Meaning?
Meaning it smells really bad, but it tastes good for you.
Okay, this next one is from Jay. As in the letter, she wrote, not the bird, smiley face.
Oh,
that's a Shandy right there.
Yeah.
Dear Shandy.
There are a lot of different types of Jays.
Jays?
Yeah, a lot of Jays.
Really?
There's not just one Jay. Jay is a category of birds.
Thanks for clarifying.
Sure.
Dear Shandy, hi. I'm a big fan of the podcast and love starting off my Thursday workday with your lovely voices in the background. Oh, thank you, Jay. I'm sorry it's not so lovely today.
It's a little less lovely.
I have a dilemma that seems up your alley as it's an am I the asshole question. There's a lot of context to lay out, so bear with me. I, 29 female, and my boyfriend C, 24 male, have been together for just over 2 years. At the time we met on a video game, I was living in Canada and he lives in the Midwest. After a year of long distance, I got a work visa and moved to the US to be with him. I try to visit my hometown in Canada at least a few times a year, which gets very expensive if I fly every time. Since I can't drive, my boyfriend has kindly offered to drive whenever he can. I work remote, but he works in an office, which means that when he does the round trip, it's a 7-hour drive on a Friday night and a 7-hour drive back on Sunday afternoon so he can go to work on Monday. Oof. I recognize that this is incredibly taxing, and I've expressed that I appreciate his willingness to be my chauffeur. We planned a trip to my hometown where he would drive back on the Sunday, but I would stay a couple of weeks and then fly back on my own. Fast forward a month to Friday afternoon when we planned to leave. He expressed that he was very tired and stressed about the drive, which was understandable given he had a full 8-hour workday plus a 1-hour commute. A long drive on top of that would be exhausting, but I was frustrated because he waited until now to tell me this. We argued about this for hours, trying to figure out what to do. I finally offered to fly on my own, which cost $600. A few days passed and the issue was still bothering me, so I brought up the idea of splitting the cost of the flight. I laid out my reasoning, specifically that, 1, I was annoyed that he canceled last minute. I would have been okay with flying both ways had he told me his concerns when we planned the trip. 2, because our argument lasted late into Friday night, I felt I had no choice but to offer an alternative. It would have been unfair to expect him to drive that night or even the next morning. 3, I was uneasy about dropping $600 unexpectedly. Had I had the opportunity to book it earlier, the flight would have been much cheaper. He countered by pointing out that when I initially booked my flight, he asked if he should pay for it, to which I said no. At the time, I said that because we had already argued at length and I didn't want to cause any more friction. He also said that it's not fair for him to pay because ultimately it's my trip. I'm the one who chose to go to my hometown, and he feels he should not be punished for being unable to go. I argued that it was not meant as a punishment, but a courtesy. I wasn't expecting him to pay for the entire cost, but we couldn't settle on a specific number. Ultimately, our argument was going nowhere, so we dropped the conversation and I told him not to pay me back at all. So, Shandy, am I the asshole? Was it wrong of me to expect any kind of payment from him? Although a couple of weeks have passed since the incident, it's still gnawing at me. I'll definitely be making more trips to my hometown in the future, and now I'm reluctant to ask him to drive me again. Should I always plan to fly round trip? Would love to get your thoughts. Love, Jay.
So I'm going to tell her something that is both going to hurt and going to feel good.
Okay.
And what I'm going to say is, yes, Jay, you are the asshole. However, that's good to know.
That's the good part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it ends there?
Yeah, because knowing that she's the asshole will make her appreciate how much this guy has gone out of his way for her.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear who's in the right and who's in the wrong here. And look, would it have been nice for C to have given her a week's notice, being like, oh, by the way, I think next Friday I will have had an 8-hour workday plus a 1-hour commute. And even though I've done it in the past, that Friday coming up, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it.
You know what? I'm going to make it a quick analogy here.
Okay.
When you're drunk and you're out with friends, suddenly you have all these ideas. Oh my God, we're going to do this. We're going to start this business. We're going to do this. You know, everything's happening next week. And then you wake up hungover and you're like, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're drunk with the moment. And he's just like, this is what's going to happen in a week. But he can't predict what he's going to feel like or what his mental state's going to be like in a week.
And he's done it before.
Yes.
So there was no reason to think that he wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, he's not a charlatan.
No.
He's not like, oh, this is the one time he promised. It's this big promise and then he failed. No, he's done this big ass drive.
Yes.
Both ways.
Yes.
Before multiple times, correct? Multiple times?
I think
twice, as I recall, at least twice.
She just sort of said that they've done it.
Let's say twice. Can we say twice?
When he does the round trip. When he does the round trip.
Suggest the permanence. It's been happening.
It has happened and it happens. Yes.
Right. So he has done this. It's not like, this is one strike, you're out. No, he's done it many times. He's proven himself to be a true gentleman. I would say, honestly a hero.
A hero.
A knight in shining armor.
That's how you know he's 24.
Right? Yeah, me now. I'm like, here's $600. Just go fly yourself somewhere.
24, only at 24 would have the energy to have an hour-long commute plus an 8-hour workday at the end of a full week of work to drive 7 hours.
The stamina of this man.
Stamina. It's impressive.
He's a beast. Let him rest. Let him rest. You know what? You know what that $600 is? That's to the fund that benefits him. He's like a fallen hero.
Okay. So would you say this is one of the ways in which perhaps a 24-year-old is a man?
Yeah. This is the most manly 24-year-old I've heard of in a long time.
Yeah. He's being very chivalrous, I would say, by making this drive for her at all.
You know what I think, honestly? And, I hate coming at Shandy's. I'm sure, Jay, you're a lovely person.
Yes.
I could tell just by the way you wrote that. I
know you're lovely. I understand her frustration.
I understand the last minute thing, but I think you're siloing this situation. You need to think of the bigger picture and see this as a way of you just paying him back in a way for all that he's done.
Yes.
This is not you. This was, I hate to do this, but I'm going to add insult to injury here.
Okay.
Because not only are you the asshole, but this was an opportunity for you to shower him with kindness, be like, and understand it.
Yes.
And be like, you know what? I feel a little inconvenienced by this, but let me think about the inconvenience and the strain that he has gone through to make my life easier in the past.
And to save me money.
Think about all the money
Think about how many
I've
hundreds
saved.
of dollars he has saved her on flights, on the other trips that he has done via the car.
Yes, this was a gift. This was an opportunity. He was basically giving you an opening to be a saint.
Yes.
And instead you chose to make this a fight. And I gotta be honest with you, this is something you need to think about and unpack. I think you made a big mistake here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the fact that she asked him to reimburse her half.
No good. No bueno.
That's like him being like, okay, well then I want you to reimburse me for like the hours that I've driven, like, I don't know, the gas or I don't know. It just felt so icky.
I think we are discounting. And I'm not saying we're wrong. And I'm not saying the dynamic's wrong, but I think we're discounting the dynamic that he does pay for a lot of things in this relationship. That's my feeling. I'm sorry. I'm getting that feeling like she's like, you pay for everything else. Why did I suddenly have to pay for this plane ticket? I'm just guessing.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know if I would have assumed that, but that's an interesting like male read on this email is that you get the feeling that he pays for a lot.
That's because if he doesn't, this feels weird. And I don't think Jay's weird. I think Jay is wrong, but I don't think she's weird.
Yeah.
So I think that she's like, I'm used to this way of being treated. What the hell was this thing that happened?
Okay.
And I really feel like in a way, maybe, and it possibly was a little passive aggressively, maybe he was looking like, look, I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling. I'm going to tell you that I do not think it's a good idea for me to do this drive. I do not feel like I can, I should, or
It's unsafe.
I want to. It's unsafe. I'm going to give you an opening here to behave in a way that I would like to see.
Yeah.
And she did not behave in that way. And maybe he was fishing. I don't know. Maybe this was
I don't think so.
I don't think he was fishing. I don't think that was the purpose. But I think he wanted to hear, it's okay.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Of course, I'll buy the ticket. Don't think about it for a second. I think that's what he wanted to hear. And subconsciously, in the back of his mind, I think he was gunning for that response.
How interesting, too, that he offered to pay for the ticket when she first booked it and she said no.
Yeah, again.
You're right. That does suggest that he does pay for a lot. That's very interesting. Okay, so wow. I gotta say, I agree with you so wholeheartedly here. Like, it just doesn't feel fair to him that he should have to reimburse. Again, given how much he has saved her in terms of cost of flights. And I understand she moved to be with him. And she's the one who needs to hop on a plane to get to her hometown.
And she's Canadian, so we got to give her some points.
Oh, obviously, automatic points. It's like the middle spot on the bingo card. She's automatically cool. She's Canadian. I totally agree. But I feel like she should take more stock of what he has already done for her.
Yeah.
Instead of, like you said, siloing this one incident. And I think you need to eat the $600, Jay. Like, this $600 is, again, I don't want to quote her boyfriend, but it is her trip. It's her going to see her family. And you can't always predict how you're going to feel about something. Like, if he did it every single time, or if this were the first time, then it would be like annoying. I totally get that.
Right.
But he can't know 2 weeks in advance when the flights are still cheap how he's going to feel.
No, he's proven himself already.
Yes.
This wasn't a one-time deal.
Yes.
If it was a one-time deal, this whole thing would have a different color.
Yes.
And still, honestly, I might lean in the a-hole direction. Still. And I do feel like the dynamic here feels more parent-child to me. Like, it's like, Mom, I'm to pay for my flight. Like, you always pay for my flight.
Yeah, and you told me that you would be able to drive on Friday. Like, and now you're not able to.
It feels parent-child, which is ironic because she's
29, he's 24.
She's 24.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like, it feels very like not understanding of his not only mental state after working so long and commuting so long and then expecting him to drive, but also his physical state. Like, the amount of, like, it takes a lot to drive for 7 hours.
I've done, first of all, back in my younger days, used to drive. We drove to Toronto. I've driven to Ottawa.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, those drives are hardcore.
Yeah.
After that drive, like, I've got bordering sciatica, got like slipped discs. I feel like shit.
That's how you know he's 24.
Yeah. And that's no joke.
Yeah.
It's a no joke drive.
Yeah.
People think like, 7 hours, that's drivable. Yeah, it's drivable. Like, if you want to feel like absolute crap when you get to your destination.
Yeah. Your day, pretty much that's your day, is that drive. And in this case, he's had a whole day already.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's dangerous.
Yeah.
This is how people die. Do you know 50,000 people like die or are severely injured on the road every year in this country?
Oh, because they're driving.
And you know what? You know what? The number one cause, and I'm totally making this up, but I think it's probably true, aside from drunken driving, which probably is the number one cause, is fatigued driving. Driving when you're tired.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's why those bumps are on the side.
Yes. Oh, by the way, whoever invented the rumble strips.
Yeah.
Whoever, that person has saved more lives than some of the greatest heroes in history.
Yeah. Genius. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've driven this point home enough. Jay, we think that you should.
Oh, nice use of the word driven.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that intentional? Or just happened that way?
Jay, sorry that we're not siding with you, but the good news, the silver lining here, is that you seem to have a really caring, chivalrous boyfriend. And I think going into this, Andy, hearing he was 24, you probably weren't thinking he was going to be that way.
I was thinking this guy was going to absolutely eat it on this one.
Yeah.
I was ready to completely don her no asshole treatment.
Yeah.
However, as I said at the beginning, I think she should enjoy this yes, you were the asshole moment.
Yes.
Because what it shows her is that she's got a great boyfriend, as you said.
Based on the information
we have. We have to go by the information we have. We don't know about all the other things.
Maybe the email's missing a paragraph about how terrible he is in other ways, but in this particular circumstance, we do not think that he's done much wrong.
No.
And again, not everyone can know ahead of time how they're going to feel in the moment.
And it's not like it's like saying, I'm going to buy you dinner tonight. And then you get to dinner and the check comes and you're like,
yes. Oh,
because you're not going to die if you don't pay. You may die on the road.
Such a good point. That was a really good comparison, actually, because it's a different type of strenuousness.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a good whistle, Andy.
Thank you.
You're honestly such a good whistler.
Oh, thank you.
You guys, Andy is an unbelievable whistler.
I have a couple of talents.
Okay. Do you want to whistle something else?
Give me a song.
Do the Queen of the Night.
Some days I can hit it, some days I can't.
All right, Jay, good luck. I don't think you need it. I just think you have to sort of shift which angle you're looking at the situation from.
Good luck, asshole. BABBEL is one of the easiest things that we sell.
One of the things we sell. It's so funny to think that we sell things.
But we sell things that we like.
No, it's true. And you're right. Some things are easier than others. And one thing that is the easiest is the idea that you can learn a language on your phone in 10 minutes a day. You could learn technically a language in 3 weeks, depending on how diligent you are.
Yes.
All with Babbel.
And what is better to learn than a language? Literally, it is like learning how to speak with aliens from another galaxy.
Well, sometimes you'll go to another country and you're like, wow, it makes you realize how small your world is.
And they
right?
speak so fast.
Yes.
You know, I once dated a Spanish woman and I used to ask her, I was like, how do you understand all of this? She's like, it's my language. I speak this language. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Languages are crazy. They're just a bunch of sounds jumbled together.
But with Babbel, in 10 minutes a day, these language lessons have been crafted by 200 language experts, and they make it fun. And the situations they put you in are like real life at a grocery store or at a restaurant, things that you would actually use. And because they have fantastic speech recognition technology, you can ensure that your accent is actually up to snuff, which is important.
And you know, if you travel around the world, you realize that the only people who don't speak multiple languages on average are Americans.
Yes.
We need to catch up.
Yes.
And Babbel is the easiest way to catch up and stop being an American asshole.
So we have a special limited time deal for our listeners, the Shandies. Right now, you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription when you go to babbel.com/DearShandy.
Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/DearShandy.
Spelled BABBEL.com/DearShandy. Rules and restrictions may apply. All right, this next question is from Anti-Mark. Dear Shandy, I, 30 female, have an outsized dislike for my best friend's 30 female, now fiance, 30 male, and I don't know how to cope.
His name is Mark, I assume?
Yes, I suppose.
Unless she's against the old form of German currency.
Okay, so she and her friend are both 30 female and the fiance is 30 male. I met my best friend, Jen, in college, and we now live in nearby cities on the East Coast. As best friends usually go, we went through our 20s sporadically seeing each other, but catching up as if no time had passed at all. While I actively dated around in my early 20s, Jen went on Tinder after moving to the East Coast after graduation and immediately started a relationship with the first guy she went on a date with in 2016 before mindless swipe culture. Mark is just okay. He is not particularly funny, doesn't seem to have interesting thoughts, and his hobbies are a typical boy, video games and basketball. I thought he would be a temporary placeholder in Jen's life, but 8 years later, he is now her fiancé, and I cannot get over this. She has voiced throughout the years moments of incompatibility. She doesn't like his mean-spiritedness when he's with other men, different sense of humor. He doesn't have close friends, and their hobbies don't overlap. I believe she is still with him due to his stability. He literally views her as a goddess, telling her she can do no wrong, and tells her if she was turned into a worm, he would never remarry again and take care of her in worm form until he dies.
Yeah, let's see how long that lasts.
She is skeptical and thinks his views are naive, but he does act as a loyal disciple. She calls all the shots, quote, what she wants is what he wants, unquote, handle all his money, etc. And he is also in an extremely lucrative career, which is a plus. Jen has changed and grown a lot as a person, as many do in their 20s, and I can't help thinking Mark is just a reflection of her 22-year-old tastes. When I ask her to hang out and she assumes Mark is invited too, I get annoyed. I can't believe I have to interact with this man for the rest of my friendship with Jen. She has forlornly bemoaned, I can't take him outside because of how his mean-spiritedness makes her uncomfortable in group situations. As for the engagement, I think he was able to secure it because there's nothing obviously wrong with him, despite there being nothing special except undying loyalty. Yeah. I so hoped that my husband and I could hang out with Jen and her significant other, but it makes my blood boil thinking a mediocre person is with my best friend. It's her choice and her life, so now I'm asking you, how do I talk myself into being okay with Mark? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with him, but I have an irrational, outsized annoyance for boring men who think so simply in black and white. It's obviously too late to spill my guts and tell her how I really feel. So how do I cope with my best friend being with a guy best described as he's okay? Thanks, Anti-Mark.
Well, first, I'd like to just say something. If you did become a worm, I 100% would take care of you as well as any worm could ever be taken care of for the rest of your life. However, I would also be dating other human women.
Okay. And where would you put my worm form in the apartment?
Oh, it would be prominent. And when women came over to the house, I'd be like, that's my wife.
You wouldn't hide me away in the closet?
No. I'd be proud. You'd have a bedazzled cage and you'd live the best life any worm has ever lived.
Okay.
But I also would be, there'd be women coming over to the house.
Okay. Plural?
Yeah. For you to see. I'd let you see. I mean, you'd want to see, right? Or would you not want to see? We'd have to talk about this.
Okay. So, what's your point? What are you getting at?
So I think this is a universal issue.
Yeah. I mean, how many times is the person dating your close friend really someone that you would want to hang out with separately?
Exactly.
Everyone, this is the thing. Everyone seems to expect their friend's significant other to be their friend too. But that happens like 1 out of 10 times where you're like, oh, I would actually hang out with this person. I like him that much.
It's puzzle pieces. Puzzle pieces that don't fit together really don't fit together. Yeah. Except for those ones that are like, they kind of fit and you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Wait,
Does this fit or what?
Wait, what are you saying?
My point is that other people's puzzle pieces are not yours.
Yes.
They're completely different.
Yes.
Even if you're in the same puzzle.
Totally. No, that's a good point. Like, and each puzzle piece has 4 sides, usually. It's such a good point. You're friends with someone and that's one side of them, but they have another side.
Yes. And this is what I do personally. I just spend less time with that person and that's it.
Wait, with the friend?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's not a shame.
Well, I just think if Jen tends to assume that when she's being invited to something that Mark is also invited, that's on Anti-Mark to make clear.
Yeah. That's the thing. You have to, if you want to hang out alone, you have to say, hey, let's the two of us go do this thing.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. But if there comes times when, you're going to have to hang out with the other person, you could just say like, oh, I got other plans or, oh, I'm busy or something came up. You just get out of it.
Yeah.
I do that. Who cares?
Sure.
You just have to, the sacrifice here is that you have to spend a little less time with your friend because your friend has found someone that they've decided to spend their life together with and you can't. They decided to spend
their life with.
Thank you. It felt like there was an extra word in there. You cannot judge them for that. You cannot do it unless the fiance or the partner or the wife or the husband or whoever it is doing something very bad to your friend, like abusing them, physically, verbally. That's totally different.
No, in this case, it sounds like Mark only worships Jen to a degree where
he just sucks. Who cares?
Yeah, but even that, like, I want to backtrack a bit when she keeps talking about Mark's mean-spiritedness. We didn't get any specific examples of this. It sounds like Jen finds Anti-Mark to be like a safe space to vent about Mark. Like it sounds like she'll go to her and talk about how she can't take him anywhere. She tends to talk down about Mark to Anti-Mark. So I think Anti-Mark, you have to take that with a grain of salt and not let it make the relationship in your eyes be worse than it necessarily is, just because you're that place that Jen goes to vent about her soon-to-be husband. Okay.
She's just a venter.
Yeah.
She likes to vent.
And we all have friends like that. I have friends. I think that this is a mistake a lot of women make, honestly, in straight relationships where they see a certain girlfriend or their girlfriends in general as a place to just talk shit about their partners.
Yeah.
And then naturally those friends are going to be like, wow, he's horrible and this is a terrible relationship. And they're all counting down the days until it's over. And then next thing you know, there's a ring on it and they're walking down the aisle and the friends are all confused. So I think a lot of women make this mistake.
I think it's a big mistake. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Always be careful. You should never vent.
Well, you can vent like here and there when something specific happens, but just not like, oh, we're together now. He did this, this, and this, and this. Like, who wouldn't then see him through a negative
you got to
light?
be careful because you're selling something.
Yes.
I mean, or you're not selling something.
Yeah, you're right. You are selling something to a degree. Like socially, it's like, I'm talking shit about him for an hour, but next Wednesday, do you want to all go bowling together?
Right.
Like, of course,
and
the
then
friends
you're
are going to be
confused.
like,
You're like, wait, I
yes.
have to go out with this guy you don't like, basically?
Yes.
In my eyes, you don't like him.
Yeah, to me, that's sloppy.
Yeah.
But okay, but I want to backtrack even from there, which is her talking about how Mark is boring. He's whatever. He thinks in black and white.
She thinks that he sucks.
She thinks he sucks. However, I am going to challenge that based on the worm example. I just think that is a fascinating.
It's great. I mean, I got to say, if anyone said that to me, I would say that person has another side to them that's not sucky.
He tells her if she were turned into a worm, he would never remarry and take care of her in worm form until she dies. That is not a boring person, in my opinion.
The only way that can be seen negatively is if he found that in a book or somewhere and he just
he copied it.
He stole it.
Maybe is that like a pop culture reference we're missing?
No, it's not a pop culture reference. I think it might have been in a book he read somewhere. If he did that, then I don't know. It's not great.
Okay, but if he came up with that on his own.
If that's original, good for him.
Yes, exactly. All I'm saying, anti-Mark, is that you are getting a version of the story from Jen that I don't think accurately represents who he is or what their relationship is, because based on, how great you think Jen is, she simply wouldn't be with someone who sucks this hard. Also, what matters to you doesn't necessarily matter to someone else. It sounds like Jen likes being worshipped.
Yes.
It sounds like she likes calling the shots.
Yeah.
It sounds like she likes being with a partner who makes a lot of money and whose money she has control over. These are all things that she's managed to put into this email. What makes Jen's boat what floats Jen's boat might not float yours, but
sucking is in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
And to answer her original question is, first, she has to just learn to live with the fact that all partners do not choose partners that you would choose. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I think, like what you said, is she should spin this positively and make the positive reinforcement of, I want to spend quality time with you more than I don't want to spend time with Mark.
Yes.
And that's it.
Agreed. Okay, anti-Mark, hopefully this was helpful. I like that she's past the point of like trying to change the situation. Yeah. She's more like, okay, for me, what do I do to cope? But I think a really big part of this is you realizing that while you might not like Mark, it like something about this works for Jen. Yeah. She likes being worshipped. I think that there are many, many people who would be perfectly content in this relationship.
Yeah.
And just because you're like, you don't have to be with him. No one's forcing you to be with him, like romantically.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So socially, just limit your exposure and deal, because this is just one of those things about adulthood. When your friends start pairing off, most of the time, you're not super thrilled about the person.
That's why people cry at weddings. They're really just bummed out.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Okay, anti-Mark, I don't think you need luck. I think this is another angle shifting situation.
Perspective is everything.
Yes. Okay, Andy, that is a wrap.
All right, we barely made it.
And our Shandys might like to know, or maybe they'll be like, oh, TMI, but we edited out our coughing attacks. Yeah. And Andy had to run to the bathroom at one point to spit something out.
A very, very substantial loogie.
Sorry.
But I will say, silver lining is that 4 years ago, if you had told me I would have COVID and be recording a podcast episode, I would have been pretty pleased.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because 4 years ago, this podcast didn't exist. And I mean, 4 years ago, oof.
Yeah. Both I would have a podcast and I would have COVID during the podcast, and I would be making sort of jokes about it.
Yeah. May 2020.
Science.
Wow.
Life. Life finds a way.
All right. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us.
Wait.
What? Oh, are we doing this again?
Yeah, we're doing it again.
Okay.
You got to reward people sticking around.
Yeah. If you stuck around to this point, you get to have a puppy sighting. This is the thing that happens now. Oh, do I have her today?
Oh, she's going to you.
Ooh. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, and
TikTok.
Leave us Apple and
Spotify.
Podcast ratings and reviews. Tell your friends and generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy. Like, hey, you want to do this thing on Saturday, just girls.
Yeah.
It's on her to specify.
Oh, wait.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I didn't want to reuse your cholera reference. Thanks, though.